Hi everyone, this is Mindy Eggen. Welcome to my channel. Today's video, I am going to be creating some back to school encouragement cards for the students. I love a good product for back to school cards, and this one in particular has a special meaning, which I will get to a little later on. The products that I'm going to be using today are from Simon Says Stamp, and this is the Just Right collection. So in this one, you can buy a lot of these products separately, but they do have a bundle available. It has the Just Right stamp set, and then there's also 2 stencils and a coordinating die that you can purchase. And I'm also going to be using a sentiment from the U stamp set designed by CZ Designs, and I have a few other things that I'll be pulling in from my stash as well. I'm starting out with this large background full of pencils, and this is going to coordinate with a stencil. So I'm starting out with some white cardstock, and I'm going to ink up this background in Latte ink. It is just a light brown. This is one of my go-to techniques when it comes to stenciling. I always stamp the background image or the focal point in a light gray or a light brown ink. And then I'm going to leave this in my Misty, and I'm going to come back and stamp over the top of my stencil background later on. And then I'm going to be doing a bunch of ink blending. So I stamped 2 backgrounds. I'm going to do 2 different color combinations, so to speak. And with this particular stencil, so this one is going to color in all the different um, sides of the pencil, I guess. And I'm going to start out by doing a rainbow, of course, just kind of a go-to for me, and it's super colorful and cheerful. So they are labeled in one of the corners to tell you 1, 2, 3, 4. I think there's 5 stencils in this set. So I laid that down. I have my cardstock on this 9 by 12 sticky mat from Altenew. It's holding my cardstock in place, which I did trim down a little bit so it fit better onto my sticky mat. And now it's going to also hold the sides of my stencil down. So this first background is a little tedious and there are a lot of colors involved. I pretty much went through my stash and I picked out a whole rainbow assortment. I do have all of the Simon Says Stamp Positively Saturated inks. That is a mouthful. And so I just went through all of those and picked out my rainbow assortment. I'm going to have all of those listed down below in the video description and over on my blog. So for this first layer of the stencil, I took the lightest color out of each of the stacks that I picked because there's 3 different shades, I guess I would say, in each stack. They come in that trio. So I picked out the lightest one in each. I don't remember all the name of the colors offhand, but you can see I'm just starting out with that lightest color. This is still the first layer of the stencil and working my way through the rainbow. I do find it super helpful to have these small blending brushes to kind of really get into those smaller areas of the stencil, and it's going to keep me away from the other colors. I had to bring in one of my blending tools from Gina K Designs because I really wanted that to be the teal that it is meant to be, and I didn't have a brush to match that in the Simon collection, but I definitely have one in my Gina collection. So I brought in a teal, and then I also brought in kind of a normal blue, so to speak, and then went on to my purple. Now, the rest of the layers, I will either speed up the process of it or I will show you the reveal because I'm really going to be doing the same thing throughout all of the colors and all of the layers. So I just peeled off that first layer of the stencil, brought in the second one, lined it up with my stamped images that I have down there, and then I'm working through the second layer in each of the trios. So it's going to be just a little bit darker. I am using the full-size ink pad in all of these. I do have the minis, but the full-size ink pads were just closer for me to grab, and I do use them a lot more just because I do so much background blending with my ink pads. But if you have some mini ink cubes, or even if you have a whole different set of inks, anything will work for this. This is just what I happen to grab off of my shelf behind me. This is finishing off that darker, that medium shade of purple, and then I can peel back this second layer of the stencil. You can see how these pencils are starting to come together, and the ink may look blotchy at first. I would bet that most of your inks will probably look a little blotchy at first until they dry. Once they dry, a lot of inks will smooth out. So, maybe after a while, set it off on the side and come back to it. I find that just by walking away from a project sometimes, gives me a whole new outlook on it. So this one is my rainbow card. I am going to create another one where it's going to be all red. Just the pencil will be different shades of red. And onto the back to school cards. Now, I love making back to school cards. I've always loved making them for the teachers and the aides that work with my son, but these cards are extra special. Quick note that I'm using Latte for the base of the pencil. And then I'm going to bring in a couple different shades of pink. I think one of them was bubblegum and I can't remember the other name, but it was a different shade of pink for the eraser. Now, the reason that these cards are so special is they are meant for a student. So while I love showing appreciation to the teachers and welcoming them to the school year, I also think it's very important to show the kids our enthusiasm for them and encouraging them in their school year ahead. Now, especially these ones, I plan on saving them and sending them to my daughter who is going to college. So, this is going to be her first year. She is going 3 hours away, which is just killing me. She's my baby, she's my first one. And it's killing me she's moving so far away, but I want to have a stash of cards that I can just pop in the mail for her. And I thought these would be perfect. She is a sucker for school supplies like I am. We love our pens, our markers, our colored pencils, all the things school supplies. So I thought this would be really cute. And I really dug through my stash to find sentiments that I thought that she would really appreciate. So here I finished up at that background. Now you're going to notice I kind of was struggling removing my cardstock from the sticky mat. So I'm folding my sticky mat. I took it off of my work surface, folded the mat, and that helped pop my cardstock off of it versus maybe ripping. I have had it rip once. So just try that tip if you struggle with your cardstock. I should have run it through my die cut machine to flatten it out a little bit because it did kind of have a curve to it, but it works out well. I placed it in my Misty tool the exact same way that I had it, and I'm stamping down that stamp again, but using black ink. If you've seen any of my videos, you know that I love doing this. I can either leave the pencils with that no line look because I stamped in a light brown, or I can come back in and stamp with that dark black. I do love that bold black outline. I think it just helps things stand out a little better. But one of the reasons that I do that so much is I have trust issues with black ink, to be honest. There are a lot of great black inks out on the market, but sometimes my ink smears, whether I'm not waiting for it to dry and I start ink blending. I have a lot of trust issues with black ink. So by starting in a light gray or a light brown and then bringing it back in later on to stamp the black, I have just found I get such amazing results that way. This is the second card that I started to create. So I had stamped two backgrounds with that background stamp full of pencils. This one is using shades of red, which I think were really fun, and then bringing in pinks for the eraser and also that latte brown for the pencil base, and then a dark brown for the actual lead itself. Again, bringing it back to my Misty and stamping down to give it that nice bold outline. So I will set these backgrounds off on the side, and I'm going to work on one more piece that I wanted to play with. I hadn't done this one yet. This pencil background I kind of played with off screen a little bit, but one of those images in that Just Right stamp set is this big pencil, and jumbo pencils for some reason just are so much fun. So again, I'm using another piece of white cardstock. I'm stamping that pencil down in that latte ink, and then I'm going to flip my cardstock and stamp on the other side so I can have two pencils. I end up only using one, but I am definitely going to be saving the other one for future projects. So this one also has a coloring stencil for it. So I took my cardstock, I put a little bit of repositionable tape on it to secure it to my work surface, and then I'm going to bring in that stencil, and I'm actually going to do both pencils at the same time for both areas. So here I started with, I think the lightest color in this trio is butter. So I did that one on the top pencil, just turned my stencil and moved down to the bottom pencil. So that way I can keep using the same yellow blending brush and I don't have to worry about cleaning it off to get a dark color off to switch to a light color. I can just kind of keep moving. And it was actually pretty easy. So if you want to make a bunch of these large pencils, this is a great way to do it. You just flip your stencil, keep moving on with the color. So this one I did do in more of a classic number 2 pencil style, but I think it would be really fun to create maybe some color variations in your pencils, like maybe start on one end in a pink and then on the other end with maybe a yellow or an orange to have an ombre effect, kind of a whole combination rainbow pencil. I don't know. They make such fun pencils nowadays. It's hard not to buy them because they're so cute or colorful. So that was just another idea I had that I just didn't get to. I'm finishing off the eraser and the metal piece there on the pencil, and then I will continue on with the kind of bottom portion of the pencil and then the lead. I think it would be also really cute if you have some really small images that you could just stamp in maybe that yellow ink or maybe a dark gray ink to add little images to the pencil too, because they come out with so many cute little characters on pencils nowadays. So I just rub my finger over my glass surface and also the back of the cardstock to remove that repositionable tape. And then I bring this back over to my Misty and I'm stamping those large pencil again in the intense black ink to give it that nice bold outline. This also has a coordinating die with it, so we can die cut these out. So what I'll do is I will kind of trim this in half, my cardstock in half. I'm lining up that coordinating die, holding it down with Post-it tape, and then I'm going to run it through my Platinum Scout die cut machine. This is just a little guy that fits nicely on my desk, and I can always fold it up and put it behind me on my shelf, so it's always accessible. So I'm running this through and I will die cut out both of my large pencils. If you're a teacher or an aide, I think these would be really cute to give kids for back to school gifts. I just, maybe write their name on it or put a label on there. Maybe you have some alphabet stamps that you could stamp a kid's name on there. Back to my backgrounds, I am using a nesting rectangles die from Hero Arts. I'm lining that up over my background and I'm going to die cut both of these out with this nested rectangle. So this is going to be 4¼ by 5½, and I will attach them to a side folding card base, which I went ahead and done. I really like how it goes all the way to the edge, and then on the top and bottom, it kind of bleeds off, so it looks like it's continuous. For the sentiments for the front of this card, I was digging through my stash and I found this one that says good luck. Unfortunately, I did not find it listed on the Simon Says Stamp website anymore. It may be retired, but if you have something similar, I think that would be really good for it. So this is my sending good luck wishes to my daughter. And then this really fun one, it says, "We're rooting for you." So I think that sentiment actually went with a plant stamp set, but I thought it was a really great encouragement card. We're rooting for you, just to give her encouragement that, you know what, you got this. So I attached the sentiments to the front of the card. I'm calling these two good, and I'm going to work on another card using that large pencil. So for this one, again, I went digging through my stash. So I guess you could say I was shopping my stash for these cards. And I have this large background stamp. I'm going to have it listed at the top of the screen here. I don't remember it offhand while I'm voiceovering, but I thought of this immediately. It has all of these letters in the background, so it's got this alphabet. I'm going to stamp this on a piece of white cardstock. I did take out the foam insert from my Misty stamping tool because this is a red rubber stamp. And I'm going to stamp this down in, I believe this one was flannel ink. It's a light gray ink from Simon Says Stamp. So I wanted something in my background, but I didn't want it to distract or take away from the large pencil. For this one, I'm going to be using a sentiment from the U stamp set designed by CZ Design. I had already gone ahead and die cut the word U and placed my images on here where I wanted it to be so I could figure out the placement of my small sentiment, which says, "I believe in." And I stamped that on a piece of cardstock. I had trimmed it down. Ooh, I'll have to double check the measurements. I can't remember what I trimmed it down to, but I stamped that in black ink, added another layer of cardstock cut to the same size to give it just a little bit of lift, and then added that to the front of the card. Then I'm going to go ahead and add some foam tape behind my large pencil. My pencil is going to be kind of coming in off of the side from this left-hand side. So it's going to peek up off the top a little bit and then come off the bottom. And I will just trim off that excess with some scissors. But now I have this word "you" that I die cut from black cardstock and layered together. I did add some black foam squares to the right-hand side, so behind the letter O and behind the letter U. And then behind the Y, I'm adding some liquid glue because that is going to overlap my pencil. Then I can just use my tweezers to place that down underneath that smaller sentiment that I had already stamped. I'll flip my card over and trim off that excess. I did already attach that background to a side folding card base. And then I'm going to call this one good. Pretty clean and simple, really, but very impactful. And then here are the other two cards that I created. Again, I'm going to have all of these supplies listed down below in my video description and over on my blog, along with pictures. I love how these cards came out. I think they are great encouragement cards for any age student going back to school. I plan on tucking these in one of her suitcases when she heads out. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I want to thank you all so much for stopping by, and I will see you soon in the next video. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you're notified when a new video is posted.